Hello, I'm Nicolas and welcome to TMN Television on Thursday, February 8th. Tonight, we learn of a recent loss of the Truman community. Also, stay tuned for an update on a recent budget proposal for higher education. And later, listen for our Truman Sports Update. These stories and more tonight on TMN Television. You don't want to miss this. Truman State University is mourning the loss of Maya War, second-year freshman student who died in her dorm room Saturday, February 3rd. War was a biology and pre-med student who had lived in Missouri Hall. Jana Stoskopf shared the news in a campus-wide email, where she also addressed student well-being. Stoskopf's email encouraged students to seek mental health assistance if they feel they are in need. She offered further support to students who can contact her directly or the university counseling services. The university encourages everyone to pay special attention to each other during this difficult time. A student-led mental wellness support group called Positive Peers will be enacted at Truman State University at the end of February. Positive Peers is an all-student support group started by senior Alex Froge. Froge, along with the help of Enactus, an international nonprofit organization, was able to gain the resources needed to begin this project. Froge says the recent suicides on campus, the university needs a place where students can talk with other students. The support group will have 4 to 12 members per meeting, depending on the discussion topics. The meetings will last about an hour and a half and will have 2 student facilitators per meeting. Enactus chose facilitators through a blind application process based on experience with support group or mental health services. Positive Peers has chosen 6 facilitators, all of whom have gone through training with university counseling. Froge says it is important to have facilitators that are students to avoid a power discrepancy during discussions. Meeting dates and times will depend on the students' needs. Missouri Governor Eric Greitens has recommended a cut of more than 7% of the funds from the 2018 appropriations after the extra withholding, plus a 10% core cut which can be earned back via performance measures. The current fiscal year 2018 budget is about $41 million, while the governor's recommendation would bring the budget down to about $37 million for fiscal year 2019. Vice President for Administration, Finance, and Planning, Dave Rector, says the university has recently gotten verification that all 6 performance measures have been met, meaning Truman will most likely get back the additional 10% core cut if Greitens' recommendations are completely accepted by the Missouri General Assembly. Rector says the General Assembly has shown support for higher education, but the university is prepared for the maximum percentage of cuts. The university asks each department to examine their programs to discover where cuts can be made. He says after deliberation, each program presents their cuts to the administration and the budget is made from there. The university then takes the final budget to the board in June. Rector says tuition may be affected by the cuts, but not by a lot.
We know that students are sensitive to the costs, so we're not likely to raise tuition dramatically. In other words, the idea of a 10% raise is not being discussed at all. So it really would be, and ultimately the board makes the decision on that too, and the board's very sensitive about cost to students. So, my thinking is most likely it'll be that 2.1% increase.
Pickler Memorial Library has a new front service desk after replacing it during Christmas break. Associate Dean of Libraries for Research and Instruction, Janet Romine, says this is the first of multiple renovations the library would like to make. Romine says the reasoning behind the updated desk is to make the transaction process more efficient for both students and staff by having more convenient places for services like the printer and book drop, and a sit-down station for patrons to relax while their questions are being answered. She says the new sprinkler system is in the works to replace the current system that is more than 20 years old. The design has been approved, but the contractor bid still needs approval before the contract can move forward. Romine says the library factors in student feedback when determining what to change because of its student-centered approach.
This is a high-traffic building, and the way students interact with materials and their coursework and their time here learning, their learning environment and how they work changes. So we need to be responsive to that.
Next, stay tuned for a look at the Truman Sports Update. But before that, let's look at this week's forecast.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good stir. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
The Truman State University softball team begins its season today in Huntsville, Alabama. The Bulldogs will face 4 teams in 2 days. Last year, their season ended in the NCAA Midwest Regional despite ranking first in the GLVC in many offensive categories. Head coach Aaron Brown says having so many players returning should set high standards for the team this year. Brown expects everyone to be better than last year, meaning the upperclassmen should try to have career best seasons. In the offseason, the team was separated into mini-teams for the purpose of competing in fun challenges, including a lip-sync battle. Brown says these were designed to keep everyone engaged and maintain a competitive drive within the team. While Brown does not know in which areas the team will excel, she says the Bulldogs' experienced roster should sustain this competitiveness.
I think that this team is unique in that they are really supportive of each other and work really well together to accomplish a goal. I think that they hold each other to high standards, but also don't seem to care who gets the credit. They just want to win. And so I'm optimistic that they will continue that path.
The men's basketball team split a couple of games last week against conference opponents to bring them up to second in the GLVC standings. The Bulldogs struggled shooting and rebounding against Drury University. They still had 4 players score in the double figures, including junior guard Jake Velte's game-high 20 points. 2 days later against Rockhurst, the Bulldogs were able to outshoot the Hawks. Redshirt sophomore guard Broderick Thomas and redshirt freshman guard Turner Scott led all scorers with 17 points each. Head coach Chris Foster says defense will be key to the Bulldogs' progress in the postseason. Truman has not lost a game where they allowed less than 80 points, but its defense currently sits at 14th place in the conference. The Bulldogs play at William Jewell College tonight at 7:30. The women's basketball team has now lost 6 straight games after losing to Drury University and Rockhurst University last week. This is the longest such streak under head coach Amy Egan. The team has struggled in the fourth quarter, scoring just 24 fourth-quarter points in the last 2 games. 3-point and free throw shooting also have not been good for the Bulldogs. Egan says the team has not been able to handle the pressure that comes late in games. When this happens, she says it is hard to run plays and get easy shot opportunities, which has been the case for the Bulldogs as they have only shot 35% during this stretch. The women will play tonight at William Jewell College at 5:30. The men's and women's tennis teams each had a winless start to their spring seasons after combining for a 1-5 record in the fall. The Bulldogs were swept in all 5 duels they competed in. Neither a Bulldog man or woman was able to win a singles match, but Truman did find success in 4 doubles matches. The women won 3 such matches, including 2 by junior Mara Dunn and senior Lindsay Schlichting. The duo of senior Paul Province and freshman Arpit Sawu won a match for the men. Schlichting says she was pleased with their opening matches and is confident her and Dunn can beat challenging teams. She says her and Dunn are very competitive, but they manage to have cool heads whenever they are playing together. This has been your Truman Sports Update. Stay tuned after the break.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to savethefood.com.
Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. For complete news coverage, be sure to stay tuned to KTRM and pick up a copy of The Index, and check out our news content on tmn.truman.edu. You can also follow TMN on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for breaking news updates. And if you missed part of our broadcast tonight, check out TMN TV on YouTube. If you've ever thought about being on TV, be sure to head on over to tmn.truman.edu/apply to fill out an application today. For all of us here at TMN, thank you for tuning in, and have a great rest of the week.